Empire.
Welcome back to the All's Caps podcast with former Capitals defenseman Karl Alsner. I'm Steve Wino. We're still doing this.
Still doing it.
This is the morning after Caps Rangers season opener. What were your thoughts? 5-1 win. Alex Ovechkin scores twice. Hendrix Lapierre. You got licked in the eyeball by Biscuit, the puppy. What are your thoughts on the opener?
Yeah, well, I mean, it was a heck of a game. I think that was, for the most part, pretty much what people wanted to see, right? They wanted to see a big win, wanted to see Ovi score, wanted to see what some of the young guys could do. So yeah, it was a solid game. I was pretty impressed all around. I thought a bunch of guys had really good showings, which was nice. I was really curious about how the D were going to do. We talked about that, and they did good too. So yeah, I mean that was a really fun game to watch. I guess the only thing that I'm sure people were talking about is they probably thought there was going to be more fireworks.
We all thought there was going to be fights, right?
yeah, exactly. And so I mean, I had to leave my seat at one point, and I was like, God dang, like I don't want to leave my seat right now just in case something happens, but. The guys had talked about it before that wasn't the whole point of this game. So it was kind of nice to see the way it shook out. But I mean, those are my takeaways. I don't know if you saw anything special with these guys, but this was fun. Had a little bit of everything.
Yeah. Is this your first game you actually went to as a fan, like a real like regular season game?
Since I was in junior, yeah. Since I played in Calgary, and we got to share the rink with the Flames. So I got to watch a couple games there when I was. Probably would have been 17 or 18 was my last game. So, yeah, it's been a good 15 years.
What is it, like, the fact that you hadn't seen a game since you've actually become a pro hockey player,
yeah.
What was it like watching it like that? I know you had some responsibilities during the game and all that, but, like, what was it like watching a game from the stands and doing all that?
Yeah, so it was cool because I love being at the rink. What's tough about opening night or any night is you always go with a little pit in your stomach. You have a job to do, so you can't really focus on anything else. You only can take in so much. It's part of it it's a tough balance because you want to go out there and enjoy what's going on every single time, but you have this pretty important job that you have to do that it's sometimes hard to really fully enjoy all that stuff. So this was cool, but I said this to my wife Mandy while we were there. It's like. I love being here, watching the game right now, but I can't focus. And when I'm here at a hockey game, I want to focus on the game. So I want to be able to take in a few things and really, watch the plays develop and see how guys are doing and all that. And, there was some responsibilities that I had yesterday, so it was a little different, but it's always great to be at the rink.
Yeah, and then look, Alex Ovechkin scoring twice, obviously the big storyline. Hendrix Lapierre, his first goal, really cool moment, his family in the stands. I actually thought Vitek Vanacek played really well in goal, and that may have been kind of left in the shadows of this. Is he got a surprise start? We all thought Samsonov was going to start. When you're as a player, that's all you want from a goalie, right? Like he played a solid game. He made the saves that he had to make. Nothing was spectacular, and we move on, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, and what I love too is that Coach Laviolette said, he thought he had a great training camp and he earned that start, and that's kind of the way I feel like they need to go with this. Is there's two really good goalies. They're both 1A at this point, and so it doesn't. I don't think you need to go one guy over the other just right away. Let them earn the job, and whoever's hot play the hot hand. So I think that was sweet. I was a little bit upset right at the beginning. I had to leave my seat to go do something. Came back, and one of the buddies I was with, he's like, "Dude, you should have just seen the first 6 minutes." And I look at the clock. Shots were already 6-2 or whatever, and he said he looked good. So unfortunately, I missed that. But all signs point to good things at the beginning. So it was sweet. But yeah, just to go back to that Ovi thing, there's a milestone every year, sometimes couple a year, and
there's a milestone every couple weeks now. At this point with this guy,
but it was cool because I thought that his reaction on the bench, like him smiling, that looked like one of the more excited times he's been, like for all the things he's done and. Getting to how many goals he scored, but getting to the top 5, like that's something that you just have to sit back and think about for a second. Like all these names that are on there, like there's no one that's played, in a while and now you got Ovi in there. Like that looked like a really big, genuine smile, and that was really cool.
Yeah, and I'm going to get into this at some point down the road, but it's amazing the difference between Alex's reaction scoring and when we're talking to him after the game. Because I don't know how many different ways we can ask him, how great is it that you're passing this guy and that guy, and you're one step closer to Gretzky and this and that, because it looks like he had just, like, gone to prison. Like, his reaction is just like, he's not excited to like, talk about it. Yeah. But when you see it on the ice, it's a moment.
Oh, yeah.
And the Lapierre moment, too. Like, this kid at 19 years old, he's got his parents, his grandparents, his brother, his sister, his girlfriend, all in the stands for this. Do you remember your first goal?
Yeah.
How could you feel for Hendrix and kind of how awesome that moment was for him?
Oh yeah, I mean, to score in your first game at home with all your family there, like that's one of the dreams, you know. You're hoping to get that monkey off your back right away. I mean, it wasn't even a monkey for him. It just happened, and so you can just tell with the celebration of guys, and especially a good young kid seems to be really likable.
Yep.
Whenever they do anything good, you're just that much more excited for them, right? You like to play with them a little bit more and joke around a little bit more, and then all their milestones and their big moments are just that much more fun. So it's definitely seemed like that was the case. And you brought up my first goal. Mine was actually in Toronto, which was my favorite team growing up. My dad's just so happened to be there, and I actually didn't even score the goal. Ovi tipped it. So if Ovi comes up one goal short of Gretzky, I'll go ahead and sacrifice my first National Hockey League goal, and we can go back to the tape and watch it because he tipped my goal, but they never saw it, so they gave it to me. so
in theory, you should have one fewer goal.
Yes.
Alex Ovechkin should be at 733 right now.
Yes, you're exactly right.
All right, so when he ends up at 893, 894, we'll revisit this.
We'll revisit
at that point. Just Lapierre for a second. This is a kid who just seems. My memory of him from the whole camp is just him smiling, like everything. On the bench last night, he could not wipe a smile off his face. The entire aura around this kid is he's here. We don't know if he's going to be here beyond 9 games, but do the Capitals need him? And I know Connor McMichael's here. Nick's coming back. Does this team need him to be that kind of player, even if it's not scoring a goal every night?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to say for sure because there are other young guys here right now too, right? Like you said, McMichael, Faravari. Like there's some other youth in the locker room which you need, right? You need to keep everybody young and everybody fresh, and it's nice to see somebody that excited to be at the rink because, you know, although it's sweet, you're in the National Hockey League, these days get long and guys get tired and it's sometimes hard to get up for games and, you know, just have that energy. But you have a young guy that comes to the rink that brings it every single time. It's great. Do they need him the whole year? We have to watch a few more games, I guess, to figure out, you know, how important he's going to be to the team. But I just love when someone brings a smile to the rink. Nate Schmidt, like everybody remembers that. He was like just like rainbows coming out of his face every single day he showed up. It was like you couldn't help but laugh when he was around, and it just, you know, everybody fed off of that. So if he's that guy right now, then you take this isn't just like a 9-game tryout. This is like a serious hard look. Like, sure. Not only is this player going to be good for us on the ice, but like you said, is this the guy we need in the dressing room too? That's something that they're going to have to take a good look at.
We asked Jeff Halpern in the segment coming up if he's watched that Ovi Backstrom video. Did you watch Nate Schmidt mic'd up with the Jets?
No.
This is fantastic. I'll send you this. He may be the best mic'd up player in NHL history.
Really?
Just like all his little chirps, you've heard them, I'm sure, on the bench, on the edge. He's just a pleasure to listen to.
Really?
So far.
Yeah, it's interesting because some guys get a little bit more animated when they have the mic. That, you know, they know what they're trying to give a little bit, and then there's some guys that are just like that all the time. And
is that Nate?
It's Nate. It's fun when those guys get a mic on them.
Yeah. You mentioned youth. You met Biscuit, the Capitals puppy. You were on the jumbotron with the puppy. Puppy looked you in the eye. Can we talk about Biscuit for a second?
Yes.
Do you like what was your meeting like with Biscuit? And he seems to like you.
Yeah, well, it was fun because we were out on the red carpet before the game, and Biscuit was out there, and man, did this puppy command attention. You know, like everybody was out there looking at the dog, and they should be. This is one of the cutest pups I've ever seen. And so when they said that I got to introduce him during the first period, I put in a request, as I think most sane people would do, to have them play the Lion King theme song and had me hoist him up
you were
over
gonna
the
do
crowd.
the Simba Cam
Yes,
thing.
exactly. And they said no for fear that Biscuit would get a little bit nervous when everybody cheered and all that. But that was the plan, and it was amazing. And we were standing there for probably so let's talk about the TV timeouts. There was almost 0 TV timeouts for the first half of the period. I think the second timeout came at the 5.5 or 4.
Yeah, so you were waiting a while.
Yeah, so it was a fast game. But anyways, we were hanging out there, and this dog was licking me like crazy. I'm trying to keep the mask on, and I'm like, this is good stuff right here. And then we got our moment, and Biscuit was shining, a bright shining star there. So it's a good thing to have around the rink.
We're both dog people, right?
Yes.
The Biscuit moment was maybe not the highlight of the game. Alex Ovechkin stole the spotlight from Biscuit and stole the spotlight from Hendrix Lapierre, but that was a cool one with you on the jumbotron.
Yeah, it was fun. I'm glad that they asked me to do that. Those are things I like to do. Things that are just kind of sometimes a little bit away from the game, and just kind of see the other side. I mean, I'm sure they'll have a lot of clips with the guys and Biscuit at some point here. But yeah, we need to see the other side of hockey.
It was cool the other day, but we actually got a chance to meet Biscuit last week, and just chewing on Oshie's glove, and just everybody just going over to the dog. No, dog's a very popular teammate.
Oh, no kidding! And only 11 weeks old, so well behaved. It's insane. Good training right there.
Yeah, absolutely. Next segment, we're going to talk to Jeff Halpern about a little John Cooper stuff, some Lightning stuff, a couple stories about you, and you'll hear that right after this. Welcome back to All's Caps with Karl Alsner. I'm Steve Wino. We are joined by former Capitals forward, 2-time Stanley Cup champion assistant coach Jeff Halpern. Jeff, thanks for being here. How's it going?
It's going good. Thanks for having me.
You guys were obviously the best team that season, and then to have it kind of cut short, like from your guys' end, what were you thinking? Were you worried that how the guys were going to respond to that? Like, were they going to, when everything did get shut down and it was dragging on as long as it was, were you worried they were going to shut it down a little bit and weren't going to come back as fired up as they were? I mean, that would have been my worry, even as a player too, is that you always got a few guys that just seem to. They just don't take things as serious as the other guys, and that would be my worry coming back into a situation like that.
Yeah, well, I don't believe there's an asterisk to that playoffs, but the one thing is we've been in Florida and things opened up a lot quicker than the rest of the world. A lot of guys wanted to stay in Florida. It happened in March. Borders were shutting down. Most of our guys stayed in Tampa, and they were able to work out. They were able to do things. When we came back to that main training camp right before the playoffs. Like our guys were flying, and even when we went into the bubble, we could tell there were some players that weren't close to where they were during the year when they typically are. And it's kind of a credit to our guys. So you were asking about their mindset, like they were making through everything when they came back, and that had a big impact. Obviously, with how we played.
Yeah, well, I can speak from experience because I didn't go back that season. I mean, my role on the team was a little bit different, but I didn't even bother going back, and I was midsummer at that point, so I couldn't imagine guys that wanted to have to gear up and get back into not only game shape but playoff shape and then have to play. So the fact that guys were in Tampa, didn't have to move around a whole lot, and we're still probably I don't know how it worked for where they were training and stuff, but I'm sure their golf games were doing pretty good, but also they were staying in relatively good shape. So that makes a lot of sense. I'm sure places like Montreal struggled like that.
Well, I think our team particularly, I think we at least the players, especially I can speak for the coaches, but we sensed that like our team was special. I think 2 or 3 games before the season got postponed, we played Boston, and it was a great kind of old school fight and teammates sticking up for each other, and we had just traded for Barclay Goodrow and Blake Coleman, and our like the look of our team was different, and so I think there was something that the guys recognized as a really good opportunity to have a chance of winning. But still going into, I remember conversations and Stamkos was hurt going in there, and some of our guys were kind of questioning even the the validity of the whole thing. And I think it was Carolina, New York, maybe, was that first game. And it was like it was a war. It was crazy. The guys were killing each other, and it kind of set the tone for the whole thing. And I think every team that got on the ice realized, like, the crowd kind of there was no crowd, but
right.
the crowd disappeared, and the intensity of the games was still there. And I think that opened up everyone's eyes to just how good the hockey was and how significant everything was.
Yeah, that's a good point. The other thing I'm so curious about too is I'm talking to the guys here in Washington the year that they won, and asking, like, what's the difference? What puts you over the hump, or what's the feeling between a team that has a great regular season and then can't make it through the playoffs, and then those teams that just find a way? And even talking to Troy Brouwer when he was here, I'm like, what was the difference with you guys in Chicago? And he said for him it was health, and they got the bounces when they needed the bounces against teams that they had struggled against at times. And it was very similar here, talking to some of the guys, saying that they were relatively healthy, and same thing, they were able to have pucks go their way that haven't in the past. And we always talk about creating your luck and stuff like that, but sometimes it just happens as well. And I'm curious, because you guys were, everybody had a feeling at least that you guys were going to win. But did you sense anything different, like coming from doing it as a player, now being on the bench and watching it from behind the bench? Did you sense anything different for any of those years? Were they different?
Well, they were different. I think as a player, you always kind of, you sit around, and whether it's at dinner or like in the locker room, and you just kind of piece together how you possibly, like, there's a chance you can win. And if this goes right, if we can get this production from these guys, then we have a chance. And you kind of look back at every season. You see where the holes are, and where things went wrong, and you kind of look back and say, maybe we didn't have as good a chance as we thought. And I think with this team, the guys I spoke to in Washington that won kind of similarly, you just kind of put your head down, and all of a sudden you win a game and you win a series, and you look around, and that first year, I think Colorado gets knocked out in the second round, Vegas gets knocked out in the third round, and so some of those teams that were you eye as real rivalries, including Washington that year, that we had built our team around to try to beat, and they got knocked out by the Islanders, and so all of a sudden that team's out. And really, all of a sudden you're just kind of one of those things where you're still standing. And I think the biggest thing, though, looking at that team, was we'd always had a really good team. We had really good skill. But I think we had an answer when teams flexed their muscles. We were probably the toughest team that we played in the playoffs. Physically, but if fighting became a part of it, we had an answer for every way a team played, and I think the guys saw that. They saw that they had no weaknesses going into those games.
I have a serious coaching question for you, and it's, what is John Cooper like to work with or work for in terms of other coaches you've kind of played for, and how is it preparing you? If being a head coach is something you want to do, how is this whole experience preparing you? Like, is this something you see yourself doing at some point?
The experience has been great for me. I really only worked under 3 coaches, and everyone you learn from a different style. I think the one thing with Coop that whether it sets him apart, but the decisions he makes or the messages that he gives, they're given with confidence, and if they go right or if they go wrong, he moves forward with that decision. And I think when the team, whenever you're struggling, as a player, even the coaching staff, they look for answers and they look for belief. And I think Coop's biggest thing is he goes out of his way to have an understanding of what's going on with the players and with the coaches. And so when he delivers a message or kind of an attitude to the team, it's received by the guys as the message that they need in order to win. And so that confidence is probably his best attribute as a coach.
And now a less serious question. What's your best Karl Alzner story from playing with him?
I'm squeaky clean. Halpy's got no stories about me.
Ozzy was really good at observing everything and having a running commentary for the whole thing. It's funny, like I go like the what was it, the 11-12 season when I was playing with Karl, like I would say my most memorable conversations and stories were probably sitting in the hot tub with him and John Carlson in the mornings. Like that was the earliest group. So like sometimes when I think of Ozzy, I think of sitting in the hot tub, which is kind of a weird weird memory of it. But no, I always feel as a coach, because I did as a player, but guys like Ozzy were sitting there taking notes of mental notes of what the coaches were saying and doing and what the players were saying and doing. And it was like a recorder, and he could play it back at any time and with any person. So
yeah, sometimes those notes were actually physically taken too in the dressing room, which at some point I'll have to bust out that story of some of the notes that I have taken. But it is weird though. With the hot tub, you get good conversation sometimes going. It's either early morning when guys are still a little bit trying to wake up, or after a game in the cold tub when guys are kind of decompressing. So that's when we get the good stuff out right there. I had one more question for you. I don't know if you have any more, Wino, but I got to know, with how many donuts I've bought at Astro Donuts, when am I going to get a percentage of that company?
We're trying to bring you in. I think I said once we first opened up, I was trying to get Nikki to come in, and I told him we'd call it Backy's House of Donuts. I still think that would be a good name. But,
I think it would too.
Oh, you have a lifetime membership there.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, have you seen the Backstrom Ovechkin commercial?
No, I haven't.
Okay, you need to. We'll talk about this on when you get here this weekend. But it's the Mass Mutual OV Backstrom with Alex's wife is a fantastic commercial.
It's must-watch TV.
Yeah.
I'll look it up. How's his acting career going?
His wife's acting career is great. She has a real career after this one.
I would say that Alex Ovi's getting better. I mean, he was chewing while talking without spitting food out, unless it was a fake bite that he took. And if that's the case, then it's going really good, because it was impressive.
Yeah,
he was having the Ovios too. I think it was his own cereal that he was doing. Anyway, any other deals you got in DC other than Astro Donuts? You got a new place opening up, or new ventures? Anything?
We do, but it's kind of in progress right now. But it would be another Astro.
I can't wait for every Astro Donut in DC. I've been to the location. I guess it's Falls Church or the Arlington border there. We've got to somehow find a way to buy into that with you.
It's open. It's open. We're listening to offers.
Yeah. Safe travels here, and thanks for joining us.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you soon.
Always good to chat with Jeff Halpern. With Karl Alzner, I'm Steve Wino. This is the All's Caps podcast. Since we gave Jeff a chance to tell his best stories about you, what is your best story about playing with Jeff?
I mean, it's tough. Like, I mean, Halpy was kind of always, you kind of saw that he would be a good coach, and you could tell that this is something that, and maybe he never thought about it while he was playing, but he always seemed like he was just another coach on the team, And like he said, I mean, you can only say so many things, but it's funny that he mentioned the hot tub, because that's pretty much it. We had so many good, funny moments, just chirping guys, I guess, in the hot tub, and guys coming in, and me, him, and Carly would always have our inside jokes, and then next someone else would come in, and we'd just start chirping them right away. So those are probably my best times with Halpy. And like we mentioned, his donut spot, Astro Donuts, when he first opened that too, we were just...
They're not a sponsor yet.
They're not a sponsor yet. No, this is just purely joy for us to talk about it, because it's just kind of a weird pivot for a hockey player sometimes to get into the donut and fried chicken market. But yeah, no, Halpy's a solid guy, and we've kept in touch over his time in Tampa, and I was trying to last year trying to bug him for a job because you could see that they were going to be good again. So I hope he's a good guy, and I'm happy that he was our first guest.
Right, and he is in town. The Lightning play Detroit Thursday night, and they're here to play the Caps on Saturday night. I know the opener was not what the Lightning would have liked, getting beat by the Penguins on banner racing night. But what do you expect from Caps Lightning, and then the Colorado Avalanche are in town next week?
Yeah, well, you know what, I'm curious to see how Tampa responds this next game, and then he kind of maybe see where their direction's going a little bit more. It's still so early, but I couldn't imagine 2 long seasons like that, losing a few guys, and then just trying to pick up where they left off. We saw when I was here, and you're maybe the best team in the regular season. You just get everybody's best effort,
Yep.
and it's tough. You have to be so on every single night. So not only have they won once, they've won twice, and they're the benchmark. So every team is taking them that much more serious as we all would expect. And so it's nice to have them. Like, this is a tough start for the Caps. Just on paper, like these teams are the best teams in the league, and a huge rivalry the first night. They passed that test, and then 2 of the best teams on paper in the league, and the Caps have to face them. So it's good in a way because you get to right away get that test in, but at the same time, you don't really have much time to really feel things out, and not only is the staff evaluating some of these players, but we are too as fans, as media, just to see what they can do, and what better way than to have them face off against top end talent. So it's gonna be exciting, and then I love watching Colorado play. I think most people do. It's a blast. We get to see Berkey too, which is always nice. So yeah, this is an exciting start to the season.
And Colorado did beat Chicago on opening night. That the Avalanche are a team that I picked to win the Stanley Cup, and that was my pick going into the season. I think Colorado is that team. Did you play against Nathan MacKinnon?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Like how? Like how? And Connor McDavid, I think, is generally considered the best in hockey. McKinnon's not a far away 1B right now. How do you defend a guy like Nathan MacKinnon?
Well, I'll give you an example. So when I was in Montreal, there was one time where he did his famous get the puck inside his zone and skate past everybody at lightning speed, and I was fairly flat-footed at the time because my winger had pushed me all the way out. And all I was thinking was, like, what am I going to do? Like, how am I going to attack this? Am I going to try and go stick on puck? Am I just going to try and lunge at him and see what happens, or just back all the way into the crease? And luckily, one of our guys came flying in, one of our wingers, and just dove and slid, like, halfway across the ice, like he was blocking a shot, even though he wasn't shooting. And he ended up taking the puck away, and McKinnon jumped over him, I think, and fell down. I was like, that's the only way you defend him, with 2 guys, and you let someone slide and take away his feet. It's insane how explosive he is, and I guess we sometimes take it for granted watching on TV that a guy is stick handling as fast as he is and going at that speed, because it is so hard to do, to have hands that quick and to make decisions that fast and keep the puck on your stick. Like, you can watch guys, if you're watching a game, pay attention in warm up, and a lot of guys can move their hands quick, but you'll see them lose that puck quite a lot. All it takes is one little slip up.
It happened to Lars Eller on the play last night that went offside.
Yeah, exactly.
And then it would have been a goal. It would have been Nick Jensen's ridiculous one-timer goal.
Yeah.
He just lost control of the puck right at the blue line, just at the worst spot, and the play was offside.
That's exactly it. So what happens? So the fact that he can do it at that speed, McDavid can do it at that speed, and a very few other guys is it's just next level. It's all world, and you just don't see that very often. So he's a blast to watch. If you're a fantasy player, I'm sure you've drafted him right away.
Yeah, and he's great. That's how I always, when you talk to guys about McDavid, it's always not that he just skates fast, that he does everything so fast.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Ideally, for the Capitals, Vitek Vanacek, I would think, is going to start against Tampa Bay. We're going to see what he has here. But are we going to have to see Samsonov play at some point? Because you mentioned this, 2 good goalies. The schedule, there are some back-to-backs coming up on the schedule, not immediately, but how do you think this goalie situation is going to play out as we go along here the next few weeks and months?
Well, I'll be the first one to admit I'm definitely no goaltender expert. So it's tough to say exactly what they're looking for.
Did you never play goalie as a kid or anything? Like, this is just not...
So I did one time, and to pat myself on the back, we had a good team, but I think we won the game 12-0. I don't think I had a shot, so that was my shutout that I had. So I didn't ever play goalie much. It wasn't really for me unless we were playing mini sticks in the basement. Then I enjoyed playing goalie. But yeah, so this is going to be an interesting battle, I guess, throughout the entire season. you'd love to have someone emerge as the guy, but at the same time, you got two young guys, and you don't really want one guy to not get the playing time.
Sure.
So say Vitek is the guy, like he should be the guy. It's just a tough balancing act there, because then you got Samsonov, who's not gonna play as many games,
Right.
and you still want to develop both of them, right? So it's just going to be a tough play for the coaching staff, and also a tough play for management, because if you think you have your guy, what do you do with the other guy? Do you try and move him while the price is still high, or do you have them only play 20 games and then try and move him as a backup? It's just kind of a weird.
Yeah.
It's just a weird situation. Like we were lucky when we had Holtz and Gruby, two guys that could be number one goalies, and then you move one out and keep one, and you don't want to do that because you want to have all those guys on your team, the assets, but it's just one of those things that they have to make a hard decision. So I mean, I don't pick one over the other, but I love guys that are great in the dressing room, and so if there's a way to give one guy a nod over the other, that's something that could come into play.
And I think that's part of why Vitek got the start on opening night, because almost as a nod for last year, because of how consistent he was, and he was there for this team. And not that Samsonov's not going to be a big part of this team this season, but I think it was a respect factor for Vitek, the great camp he had and preseason, but also specifically like everything he did last year before getting hurt in the playoffs. And hopefully we'll try to get Scott Murray on to talk goaltending at some point during this podcast, because he is the goalie expert, and get people who actually, because you and I are not goaltenders, so we'll have to be able to talk to somebody who is. But Nick Backstrom, he got introduced last night, obviously not in uniform. 9 more games at least without Nick. He's been skating here by himself. What does this team need to do to survive without Nicklas Backstrom for at least 9 more games?
Well, I mean, they've got good players. I mean, they don't have Nick Backstrom. There's almost nobody that can replace what he does. But at the same time, it's a good opportunity for guys to like. There's been so much discussion about Kuzi, right? And when they won the cup, he was the guy. He could have easily won the MVP.
It was close. My vote went to Alex, but it was a really close between. Kuznetsov was the leading scorer.
Yeah.
Ovechkin drove the play, and it was tight.
Yeah, so that it gives him a really good opportunity to be the guy and not really have to worry about losing his spot as much. When he's with Ovi, he's great. I mean, he can play with anybody, but it just gives guys like him a little bit more breathing room almost to go out there and play and get comfortable. I think Nick can slot in. When he comes back, doesn't really matter how much time he misses. The hard thing will be obviously conditioning once you get in, and guys have already played 10 games and they're in the swing of things. But it just, like I said, there's opportunity out there right now. Backy's not going anywhere for a while, so it's not like someone's gonna take his job away, but the guys almost have to have that mindset that they're playing for that role right now, and so that the coaching staff knows. And with Backy, I mean, this is something that's kind of bugged him for years, right?
Yeah.
There's absolutely zero reason that you rush this thing. The team is going to be good enough that they're gonna survive, and when he comes in, they'll get better. But the training staff is doing the right thing. He's doing the right thing. Just take your time. Just relax and figure it out. And it's very frustrating as a player when you have a guy, especially a good player, come in and out of the lineup back and forth when you need them all the time there, and the player wants to rush back for a little bit maybe ego, because they're like, I just want to be in the lineup because I want to be in the lineup, versus like, I need to be in the lineup at my best to help the team. And so this is a good thing that he's waiting a little bit.
But isn't that Alex Ovechkin too? We asked him last night. He was questionable, and I say that with air quotes, to play. And somebody asked him last night, when did you know you were going to play? He said, after the Philly game. Like at the day I got hurt, I knew I was going to be okay. Yeah. So for all the smoke and mirrors, you've seen this guy play through everything. How ridiculous is this?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, it's very impressive. It's I don't understand how his body can recover the way it does with what he does to it on the ice, and how hard he plays. So it's super impressive. And there's always injuries that when they happen, like, this is something I'm going to be able to play with. Like, it might sound bad on the on the injury report that someone's got a knee injury or a hand or whatever it is, but pretty quick if it's something that you're going to be able to play through. And so.
And he plays for everything. Alex has played through so many different injuries over the years.
Yeah.
He plays for everything.
He does play through everything, and that's one of the things that you love. Like, I personally love a guy that can battle through something. Like when Brooks Lake was here, and he had it was like a grade 2 MCL sprain, and you could see he could barely move, and he had this thing so heavily taped. And then he was out there for pregame skate the one day. I'm like, how is that possible that he's going to play on that? Like, there's no way he should. He's not going to be able to perform. Sure enough, he was out there and he could perform. And I'm like, that was kind of the taste. Like, for me, I'm seeing that this is what guys are doing here. That this is how hard they battle to be in the lineup. Okay, I understand now, and I'm going to try and do the same thing.
And you played through some injuries too, I'm sure, over the years, and,
Yeah.
and recuperated. And I'm sure we'll tell some stories over the next few weeks and months. But thanks for doing this again,
Yeah.
and we'll talk to y'all next week.
All right, good stuff.